Super Rugby round 13 Saturday games. There are three, so it's three on the Friday, three on the Saturday, and then one on the Sunday with the Brumbies and the Sunwolves. But the 3-4 Saturday, important games for kind of different reasons. Get into those as we go through them one by one, but all inter-conference matches, so there's no kind of derbies in this one, but hopefully we get some fans turning out, and hopefully it is a good weekend of rugby all round. The first one is the Highlanders hosting the Jaguares. The Jaguares starting their tour. Their tour last year went really well. They picked up wins in all their games, which was pretty unexpected, and it's what pushed them through to making the playoffs for the first time last year. They're in a fairly strong position at the moment, but still far from certain. The Highlanders are in the playoff race as well. I mean, points-wise, the Highlanders are third in New Zealand on 25, and the Jaguares are third in South Africa on 27. So they're one victory away from being that step closer, and they're likewise one defeat away from being passed by another team. So it is still that tight this year. The Highlanders are 4 wins, 2 draws. One of them was a cancelled game, and 5 losses. The Jaguares 6 wins and 4 losses. Those 6 wins the Jaguares have got, they're not really blowing teams out of the water, but they are doing enough to get wins, which is an important thing for them to just keep ticking along. Highlanders kind of a bad start to the season after some, they started off okay, and then it kind of went to custard, and it seems to be kind of getting back on track at the moment, but last week's draw was a bit of a letdown for them. In terms of the teams, there are a few changes. The big one, I guess, for the Highlanders is no Ben Smith. He's out for, I think, 6 to 8 weeks with a hamstring strain, so that was kind of bad news for them. So Matt Faddis is having to move to fullback from the wing. Jordan Highland, who played for the Blues a bit last year, plays for Northland in the Mitre 10 Cup, is on the right wing for them. Theo Tompkinson's in the midfield this week for Tay Walden. Rob Thompson continues at 13. Aidan Johnston and Siate Tokalahi are the props, and Josh Dixon is in the second row. So there have been a few changes. Liam Coltman still starts at 2, and he's been in top form. Tavita Lee continues on the wing. I know a lot of Highlanders fans have been pretty critical of his play recently, so we'll see if he can kind of up his game a wee bit. But that being said, Aaron Smith and Josh Ioane have been in pretty decent form, so they're going to be key to whatever the Highlanders do here. The Jaguares, pretty wholesale changes, I guess, with the travel and a long tour coming up. They've decided to rest some of their big guns, so there's more than a few changes to this side. I guess that could be a good thing for the Highlanders in terms of the Jaguares perhaps being a little bit disjointed, or it could just be fresh blood for the Jaguares, and then they, these guys who aren't getting games week in, week out, take that opportunity to try and cement a spot in the starting lineup. So it's a whole new front row with Pireto, Montoya, and Vivas. It's Crema moving in from the back row into lock. Lucas Paulos, who I don't think I've seen play before, is also in the second row, so it's a whole new. There's no Lavanini and Petty, who have been their kind of core locking duo up until this point. Leguizamon is playing. We haven't seen him for a while. Lozana's there. Ortega Desio's there. Felipe Escura is at number 9. I don't think I've seen him play 9 before. And Bonija is in at 10. So he's replacing Miotti, who has been pretty sharp for a young man, but he is on the bench. After that, so from left wing to fullback in the midfield, that's all the same. But pretty much your entire forward pack has either been changed or moved around, and your 9-10 combination as well. So that's a heck of a lot of changes for 1 week for them to go through. That being said, some of these form guys, like I said, Miotti's on the bench, Kubele's on the bench, Matera's on the bench, Lavanini's on the bench. So they've got the big guys to inject into the game if they're kind of within touching distance, or even if they're in the lead, they could push away. For the Highlanders, it's kind of less so. There's probably a little bit less depth, but perhaps their starting lineup is more their stronger players. So I guess we will see. The bookies for this one are giving the Highlanders a pretty comfortable start. They're saying Highlanders by 14 points. I think Highlanders fans would probably take that. 14-point win would be pretty comfortable. But yeah, it's really hard to know because the Jaguares, like I said, did tour well last year, but the Highlanders are really, apart from a bit of a blip draw last week, are really pretty hard to beat at home. So we will see. It's an early game, so it should be a really nice one, even though it's under the roof and it's always pretty nice down there. But yeah, it's like a 5:15 kickoff, so it should be good. The next one, the Chiefs up against the Sharks. I saw a pretty funny picture online. You remember that game Guess Who, where you've got to describe people by their appearance, and then you eliminate the ones who don't match the description. It said like, is it a playoff team? And it was yes, and they were flipping down the Chiefs to say not a playoff team. I thought that was pretty funny, but do you write off the Chiefs? The Chiefs are on 19 points, so they are having to make up a lot of ground, and they do have a lot of injuries. So it does seem like a pretty big ask for them. They're 14th overall. They're dead last in New Zealand, although they're not that far behind the Blues. 3 wins, 2 draws, and 6 losses is not where the Chiefs want it to be. Yeah, it's going to be tough. The Sharks, with an extra day's rest, I might add, because they played on the Friday last week. They've travelled from South Africa, but they've been in New Zealand for a while. They played the game last week, so that's not going to be a factor. The Sharks are 5 wins, 5 losses, and a draw. And that draw is almost like a win in that they went to Christchurch and got a draw. So on form, perhaps the Sharks have got it, but at home, I went down to Hamilton and saw the Chiefs play. They beat the Blues, so at home, perhaps the Chiefs can get it done. That being said, that same Chiefs team lost to the Sunwolves in Hamilton. So, I don't know, man. Lineups, the Chiefs have got a few changes. Tyler Ardron's had to move into the second row from the back row. Jesse Parete starts at 6, Mitch Karpik's at 7, and Luke Jacobson moves to 8. Otherwise, it's a pretty settled team. There's not really any other changes. Sean Stevenson on the bench, Nakaville's on the bench, Ta'avale's on the bench, so they've certainly got some guns to bring off and on. The Sharks, minimal changes again. Hiron Andrews is back at lock. Marius Lowe has come in for Andre Esterhazen at number 12, so that is an interesting change. And Esterhazen's on the bench. I don't remember if he's injured or not. Jacques Vermeulen is in the back row as well. So, it's only the one Dupria brother starting with another one and Robert on the bench. It's still Kerwin Bosch and that big boot of his at 10. If the Chiefs give away penalties, from memory, they're not that bad with penalties, but if they do, you've seen it last week, they will punish you. And Marty McKenzie's kicking is pretty average. So the Chiefs might need to score some tries like the Crusaders did last week for this one. The Sharks are first in South Africa on 28 points, but that conference is really, really tight. The Chiefs, though, are the favourites for that one by 4 points, so it's pretty tight. And you guys like Bosch, as I said, look on your arms there, Mapimpi, so there's a few Springboks in that team. And as I said, the Chiefs without Brodie Retallick don't look like the same team. And then you add Damien McKenzie to that as well on the injury list. It's not ideal. The last one is the Lions hosting the Waratahs. I don't think I'll see this one live. It's on in the middle of the night here in New Zealand. But the Waratahs going to Joburg. 2 teams. They're not quite in Chiefs territory, but they're only a few points off it. As I said, the Chiefs are on 19 points. The Waratahs are on 21. They're 4th in Australia, just above the Sunwolves. And the Lions are 5th in South Africa. This is last year's finalist team on 22 points. So it's it's been tough for both these teams so far. I guess the Lions, you could say it's an even split, 5 wins, 5 losses, so they're not all that bad. But as I said, finalist team last year that were clearly the best team in South Africa. So, it's not been ideal. They've named a pretty strong team. They've got Malcolm Marx starting. Remember, they're coming off a bye, so it's not like they're having a whole bunch of changes. So, and it looks like the team, there was a bit of controversy when they named their team to play the Chiefs and they switched it up. They've named a pretty strong team, so I can't imagine them doing that again. This looks like the team is going to play. Marx is playing. Kalu Sadi, who's been phenomenal this season, is playing. Warren Whiteley's back and he captains the side, so that's good news for the Lions. Yankees is there. Ross Cronje, Dianti, Mapu Skorsan, Andres Coetzee as a fullback. I'm not sure who they're missing, but for the most part, interestingly, Marnus Schoolman is on the bench. I guess he'll add a bit of impact when he comes on. He's been pretty good this season too. It's a pretty tough-looking Lions team. Quokka Smith being in good form as well. Waratahs, minimal changes from last week in that loss. So Newsom is on the right wing in place of Cam Clark. Fokiti is in at outside centre, and Michael Wells comes back. I think he was injured. He's at number 8. So, yeah, minimal changes. Adam Ashley Cooper moves to the bench as well, so I guess a bit of rotation, but not too much. Kurtley Beale continues on at fullback as the Israel Folau. Saga drives on for them. Hannigan's at number 6. I guess that's his more natural spot. I think he was named at 8 last week, but ended up playing 6. I can't remember, but yeah, both of these sides really, really need to win because they're both in their conferences. Their conferences are really tight, but again, you're only one win from really falling behind. Sorry, one loss or one win from being back into it. So, with the Rebels and the Reds playing in that Australian conference, the Waratahs are going to have more ground to catch up on either way. One team will be a bit closer. Or at least not going to be getting further away, but one team is definitely going to be moving ahead. So, but still at Joburg, it seems like a pretty tough ask. Lions by 8 is what the bookies have got for that one. So, yeah, all of these games, they look like they could go close. The Highlanders are your biggest favourites by 14 points, but yeah, and this season of Super Rugby, who really knows? The Crusaders can draw at home. Sunwolves can beat the Chiefs in Hamilton. The Blues can beat a New Zealand team. Who knows what's going to happen? Make your Super Brew picks carefully. You guys let me know your thoughts on these games. How do you think they're going to go? Kind of key things to watch for. And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.